If you can't sit alone in a room for 30 minutes without reaching for your phone, you're weaker than a Roman slave. And I'm about to prove it to you. Welcome to Stoic Mentality. In the next few seconds, I'm going to share something that will either make you close this video in discomfort or transform you into the mentally strongest version of yourself. The choice is yours. But before you decide, understand this. Marcus Aurelius spent hours alone every day, and he ruled an empire. You can't handle 5 minutes of silence, and you wonder why your life feels out of control. Today, you're going to discover why solitude is the ultimate superpower that modern society desperately wants to hide from you. Why every notification, every social media ping, every constant distraction is designed to keep you weak, dependent, and controllable. But more importantly, you're going to learn the ancient Stoic practice that transforms isolation from a punishment into a forge for unbreakable mental strength. Before we dive deeper, and trust me, what's coming next will blow your mind. If you're someone who's tired of being mentally weak, emotionally reactive, and constantly needing validation from others, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop life-changing content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. This isn't just another philosophy channel. This is your mental dojo, and today's training begins now. The modern plague. Here's what nobody wants to admit. We've become a species of mental weaklings. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes. You literally cannot be alone with your own thoughts for longer than it takes to boil an egg. And then you wonder why anxiety, depression, and mental illness are at all-time highs. But here's the shocking truth that will change how you see everything. This isn't an accident. It's by design. Every app, every platform, every digital service is engineered by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to make you addicted to external validation. They've turned you into a dopamine junkie who needs constant hits of likes, comments, and notifications just to feel normal. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence? No phone, no music, no podcast, no distraction, just you and your thoughts. If you're like most people, you can't even remember. And that's exactly where they want you. Dependent, distracted, and weak. The ancient Stoics would look at modern humans with absolute disgust. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would regularly practice voluntary poverty and isolation. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, would wake up before dawn to sit alone with his thoughts. Epictetus, born a slave, found freedom in the solitude of his own mind. But here's where it gets interesting. In the next segment, I'm going to reveal the exact neurological changes that happen when you embrace solitude, and why the most successful people in history were all masters of being alone. What you're about to learn will completely change how you view isolation. The neuroscience of solitude scientists have discovered something remarkable. When you spend time in true solitude, not loneliness but chosen solitude, your brain undergoes a transformation that's almost magical. The default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for self-reflection, creativity, and deep thinking, becomes hyperactive. This is the same brain state that Einstein was in when he discovered relativity, that Marcus Aurelius accessed when writing his meditations, that every great thinker in history has tapped into. But here's what's even more fascinating. Regular solitude practice literally changes your brain structure. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function, emotional regulation, and decision-making, becomes denser and more connected. You're literally building a stronger, more capable brain every minute you spend in purposeful isolation. Meanwhile, what happens when you're constantly connected, constantly stimulated? Your brain atrophies, your attention span shortens, your ability to think deeply disappears. You become what researcher Matthew Crawford calls a mental diabetic, unable to process the natural rhythms of thought without artificial stimulation. The Stoics understood this intuitively. They called it retreating into the inner citadel. Your mind is a fortress, but only if you know how to close the gates. Every time you reach for your phone out of boredom, you're leaving the gates wide open for invaders, other people's thoughts, opinions, agendas, and anxieties. Now pay close attention, because what I'm about to share is the exact practice that transformed me from a validation-seeking, anxiety-ridden mess into someone who actually enjoys being alone. This is the warrior's path that 99% of people will never have the courage to walk. The warrior's practice. Let me tell you about the Spartan practice of the Krypteia. Young Spartan warriors were sent into the wilderness alone, with nothing but a knife, expected to survive on their own for months. This wasn't punishment. It was the final test of warrior training. Only in complete isolation could they discover if they had the mental strength to be warriors. The Stoics had their own version. Seneca would spend days in isolation, eating only bread and water, sleeping on the floor. Not because he had to, but because he chose to. He was training his mind to be comfortable with discomfort, to find strength in simplicity, to discover that everything he needed for happiness existed within himself. Here's the practical method you can start today. I call it the Warrior's Silence Protocol. Start with just 10 minutes. Tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you even have coffee, sit in complete silence. No meditation app, no guided anything, just you and the silence. You'll notice something immediately. Your mind will rebel. It will scream for stimulation. You'll suddenly remember urgent emails, important tasks, anything to escape the silence. This is the addiction talking. This is years of conditioning fighting against your attempt at freedom. But if you can push through those first 10 minutes, something magical happens. The mental chatter starts to quiet. The anxiety begins to settle. You start to hear something you haven't heard in years. Your own authentic voice. Not the echo of social media, not the repetition of other people's opinions, but your actual thoughts. After a week of 10 minutes, increase to 20. After a month, aim for 30. The ancient Stoics would spend hours in contemplation, but in our hyper-connected world, 30 minutes of daily solitude will put you in the top 1% of mental strength. But here's the warning, and this is crucial. What happens next in your journey of solitude will trigger what I call the loneliness trap. If you don't understand this, you'll quit before you ever experience the true power. Stay with me, because this next part will determine whether you become a warrior or remain a slave. The loneliness trap. There's a massive difference between solitude and loneliness, and if you don't understand this distinction, you'll never access the power we're talking about. Loneliness is involuntary isolation while craving connection. Solitude is voluntary isolation while building connection with yourself. Here's what will happen. About 2 weeks into your practice, your brain will start playing tricks on you. You'll feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people. You'll start thinking something's wrong with you. Your friends might even comment that you're becoming distant or weird. This is the test. This is where 95% of people quit. But understand what's really happening. You're going through withdrawal. Your brain, addicted to constant external validation, is panicking. It's like a drug addict's brain screaming for a fix. The loneliness you feel isn't real loneliness. It's your addiction dying. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All you need are these: certainty of judgment in the present moment, action for the common good in the present moment, and an attitude of gratitude in the present moment for anything that comes your way." Notice, he didn't mention needing other people's approval, constant entertainment, or endless distraction. Push through this phase, and something incredible happens. You start to enjoy your own company. You become your own best friend. You realize that all the validation you were seeking externally was just a poor substitute for self-acceptance. You discover what the Stoics knew, that the best companion you'll ever have is a well-trained mind. Now, if you're finding value in this, smash that like button, because it helps YouTube share this with others who need to hear it. And subscribe if you haven't already. We're building an army of mentally strong individuals here at Stoic Mentality. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, we drop content that will transform your mind. What comes next is the secret that ancient warriors used to turn solitude into supernatural power. The power of ritual isolation. Every great warrior culture understood something we've forgotten. Regular ritual isolation is essential for mental strength. The Native American vision quest, the Aboriginal walkabout, the Zen session, the Christian desert fathers, all recognized that periodic withdrawal from society was necessary for spiritual and mental development. The Stoics formalized this into daily practice. Marcus Aurelius would rise at dawn, not to immediately engage with the empire's problems, but to engage with himself. He would write in his journal what we now know as meditations, not for publication, but for self-examination. This wasn't narcissism. It was mental hygiene. Here's the advanced protocol. Once a month, take a full day of complete solitude. No phone, no people, no entertainment. Just you, a notebook, and your thoughts. I call this the warrior's Sabbath. This isn't rest in the conventional sense. It's active mental training. During this day, you'll confront everything you've been running from. The thoughts you've been suppressing with constant stimulation will surface. The emotions you've been numbing with distraction will emerge. This is the point. This is where real growth happens. Write everything down. Every fear, every doubt, every suppressed thought. Then apply Stoic analysis. Is this within my control? If yes, what action will I take? If no, why am I wasting mental energy on it? This simple framework will clean out mental garbage you've been carrying for years. But here's where most people completely misunderstand solitude. They think it makes you antisocial or disconnected. The opposite is true. What I'm about to reveal will show you how solitude actually makes you more powerful in social situations. This is the paradox that will transform your relationships. The social paradox. Here's the counterintuitive truth. The more comfortable you are alone, the more powerful you become with others. When you don't need people, you can truly connect with them. When you're not desperate for validation, you become magnetic. Think about the most charismatic people you know. They all share one quality. They're comfortable in their own skin. They don't need the conversation to go a certain way. They don't need you to like them. This freedom from need creates an energy that draws people in. The Stoics called this autarkeia, self-sufficiency. When you achieve autarkeia through solitude practice, you stop being a social vampire, constantly feeding off others' energy and validation. Instead, you become a source of energy. People want to be around you because you're not trying to get something from them. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, was known for his ability to connect genuinely with anyone, from senators to slaves. This wasn't political skill. It was the natural result of a man who had found peace in solitude. He didn't need anyone's approval because he had his own. Watch what happens when you develop this. Your relationships improve because you're no longer needy. Your communication becomes clearer because you're not filtering everything through fear of rejection. Your presence becomes more powerful because you're not constantly checking if you're doing it right. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share the dark side of solitude, the demons you'll face, and how to defeat them. This is the part nobody talks about, but it's the most important. If you're not prepared for what I'm about to reveal, solitude can break you instead of building you. Facing your demons, let's get real about something nobody wants to discuss. When you sit in true solitude, you'll meet parts of yourself you've been running from your entire life. The anger you've suppressed, the fear you've denied, the shame you've buried, they all come to the surface when you stop distracting yourself. This is why most people can't handle even 5 minutes of silence. It's not boredom they're running from, it's themselves. Every notification check, every scroll through social media, every moment of mindless consumption is an escape from the discomfort of meeting yourself. The Stoics had a term for this: fantasia, the impressions or appearances that assault your mind. In solitude, without external distractions, these fantasias become intense. You'll relive embarrassments from years ago. You'll imagine future catastrophes. You'll feel waves of emotion you can't explain. Here's the warrior's way to handle this. Don't fight them. Don't run from them. Observe them, like a scientist observing a specimen. Interesting, there's anger. Where does it live in my body? What triggered it? What story is my mind telling about it? This objective observation is what the Stoics called prosouche, continuous attention. When you observe without judgment, something remarkable happens. The demons lose their power, that embarrassing memory that's haunted you for years. When you really examine it, you realize nobody else even remembers it. That future catastrophe you're imagining, you recognize it as your mind's fiction, not reality. This is the purification process. Every session of solitude is like putting your mind through a filter, removing the impurities of false beliefs, irrational fears, and borrowed opinions. You're literally cleaning your mental operating system. But here's the ultimate test, and if you can master what I'm about to share, you'll develop a mental strength that's almost supernatural. This is the practice that separates warriors from everyone else. The ultimate test, extended isolation. Once you've mastered daily solitude practice for at least 3 months, you're ready for what I call the warrior's retreat. 3 full days of complete isolation. This isn't for everyone. This is advanced training. But if you want to experience the full power of Stoic solitude, this is the gateway. Find a simple place, a cabin, a tent, even a spare room. Take only the basics. Simple food, water, a notebook, and maybe 1 book of Stoic philosophy. No phone, no laptop, no music, no distractions. Just you and 72 hours of silence. The first day will be hell. Your mind will scream for stimulation. You'll feel like you're going insane. You'll create problems just to have something to solve. This is normal. This is decades of conditioning fighting against you. The second day, something shifts. The mental noise starts to quiet. You begin to hear thoughts you've never heard before. Original thoughts, not regurgitations of what you've consumed. You start to feel a peace you didn't know was possible. By the 3rd day, you'll experience what the Stoics called apatheia, not apathy, but a state of equanimity where you're no longer pushed and pulled by every passing thought and emotion. You become the observer of your mind rather than its victim. When you return from this retreat, you'll be different. Colors will seem brighter. Conversations will seem slower. You'll notice how frantically everyone around you is moving, how desperately they're avoiding silence. But you'll have found something they're all searching for in the wrong places: peace. Now, if you're thinking this sounds extreme, you're right. But what I'm about to share next will show you why this extreme training is necessary for what's coming. The world is about to change in ways that will break the mentally weak. Only those who've built strength in solitude will survive what's ahead. The coming storm, we're entering an age of unprecedented mental warfare. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and bioengineering are about to make today's distractions look like child's play. The attacks on your attention, your autonomy, your very sense of self are about to intensify beyond anything we've seen. Those who haven't built mental strength through solitude will be swept away. They'll live their entire lives in virtual worlds. Their thoughts will be augmented by AI. Their emotions will be chemically regulated. They'll never experience a genuine human thought or feeling again. But those who've trained in solitude, who've built their inner citadel, will have something algorithms can't hack: authentic self-knowledge. You'll know which thoughts are yours and which are implanted. You'll recognize manipulation because you know your own mind. This isn't science fiction. This is happening now. Every moment you spend building strength in solitude is an investment in your mental sovereignty. Every hour you practice being alone is building immunity to the psychological viruses spreading through our hyper-connected world. The Stoics saw this coming. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He knew that the ability to be present, to be here, to be now, without needing constant stimulation, would be the ultimate power. And that power is only developed in solitude. Are you still watching? Good. That means you're one of the few with the mental strength to handle truth. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because Stoic mentality is your training ground for mental sovereignty. We post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Now let me share the daily protocol that will transform you into a mental warrior. The daily protocol. Here's your exact daily training regimen. This isn't theory, this is what I do every single day. And it's based on the actual practices of the Stoic masters, combined with modern neuroscience. Morning Citadel session, 20 minutes. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than usual. No phone for the first hour. Sit in complete silence for 10 minutes. Then spend 10 minutes journaling, answering these 3 questions. What am I grateful for? What do I need to accept today? What virtue will I practice? Midday reset 5 minutes. Set an alarm for noon. When it goes off, stop everything. Close your eyes. Take 10 deep breaths. Ask yourself, am I present or am I lost in past, future thinking? This breaks the momentum of unconscious mental patterns. Evening reflection, 15 minutes. Before dinner, no matter what's happening, take 15 minutes alone. Review your day like a Stoic philosopher. Where did you act from strength? Where did you act from weakness? No judgment, just observation and learning. Night watch, 10 minutes. Before sleep, sit in darkness. No screens, no lights, just darkness and silence. Let your mind process the day without input. This is when integration happens, when the lessons become part of you. That's 50 minutes total. Less time than most people spend on social media in their first hour awake. But this investment compounds. Every day you practice, you become exponentially stronger. After 30 days, you'll be unrecognizable. After 90 days, you'll be unstoppable. After a year, you'll be free. But here's the key: consistency over intensity. Better to do 10 minutes every day than 2 hours once a week. The mind, like the body, responds to consistent training, not sporadic effort. What I'm about to reveal next is the hidden benefit of solitude that nobody talks about. The creative explosion that happens when you clear the mental noise. This is how empires are built in silence. The creative explosion. Here's something that will blow your mind. Every major breakthrough in human history came from solitude. Einstein's theory of relativity came during long walks alone. Tesla's innovations came in isolation. Marcus Aurelius wrote the most influential work of practical philosophy while alone in his tent during military campaigns. When you remove external inputs, your brain doesn't shut down. It explodes with creativity. The default mode network I mentioned earlier, it's the same network responsible for innovation, problem solving, and breakthrough thinking. But it only activates in the absence of external stimulation. Think about your own experience. Your best ideas come in the shower, right? That's because it's one of the few times you're alone without your phone. Now imagine having that shower-level creativity for hours every day. That's what solitude gives you. I've built 3 businesses, written 2 books, and transformed my entire life, all from ideas that came during solitude practice. Not despite being alone, but because of it. When you stop consuming other people's thoughts, you start producing your own. The Stoics knew this. Seneca wrote more in his periods of exile and isolation than when he was in Rome's social whirl. Marcus Aurelius' deepest insights came not in the palace, but in the solitude of his military tent. Solitude isn't just for mental health, it's for mental wealth. But here's the warning, and this is critical. There's a dark practice of solitude that will destroy you if you do it wrong. What I'm about to share could save your sanity. The dark side of isolation. Let's be brutally honest about something. Solitude can break you if you approach it wrong. There's a difference between strategic solitude and destructive isolation. The line is thin, but it's everything. Destructive isolation is hiding from the world because you're afraid. It's avoiding people because they've hurt you. It's retreating into fantasy because reality is too hard. This isn't strength. It's weakness disguised as solitude. Strategic solitude is temporary withdrawal to build strength for better engagement. It's like a boxer retreating to his corner between rounds, not to quit, but to recover and strategize. You go into solitude not to escape life, but to prepare for it. Here are the warning signs you've crossed the line. You start feeling superior to people who can't handle solitude. You use isolation as an excuse to avoid difficult conversations or situations. You begin to prefer fantasy to reality. You lose the ability to connect with others, even when you want to. The Stoics were clear about this. They practice solitude to become better citizens, friends, and leaders, not to escape these roles. Marcus Aurelius didn't meditate in the morning to avoid his duties. He did it to perform them better. The rule is simple. Solitude should make you more effective in the world, not less. If your practice is making you withdrawn, bitter, or disconnected, you're doing it wrong. True solitude creates connection with yourself first, then with others. Now, what I'm about to share is the ultimate paradox of solitude, how being alone actually makes you a better leader. This is the secret of every great commander in history. The leadership paradox. Every great leader in history was a master of solitude. Not despite their leadership, but because of it. Lincoln spent hours alone. Churchill had his black dog days of isolation. Marcus Aurelius led Rome while maintaining a rigorous solitude practice. Here's why. Leadership requires independent thinking. When you're constantly surrounded by others' opinions, agendas, and emotions, you lose the ability to think clearly. You become a reflection of the crowd rather than a director of it. In solitude, you develop what the Stoics called hegemonikon, the ruling faculty of the mind. This is your internal CEO, the part of you that makes decisions based on principles rather than pressure. Without solitude, this faculty atrophies, and you become a reactive leader rather than a proactive one. But it goes deeper. People follow those who possess certainty, and certainty only comes from self-knowledge. When you know yourself completely, your strengths, weaknesses, values, and vision, you project an authenticity that's magnetic. This self-knowledge is only forged in solitude. Watch any great leader speak, and you'll notice something. They're not trying to impress you. They're not seeking approval. They're simply sharing what they've discovered in their own contemplation. This is why their words carry weight. They're not borrowed opinions, but earned wisdom. If you're getting value from this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, Stoic Mentality posts new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next training. Now let me share the final secret, the ultimate goal of all this training. The ultimate freedom. Here's what all this training is really about, freedom. Not political freedom, not financial freedom, but something far more valuable. Psychological freedom. The freedom to be alone without being lonely. The freedom to be with others without needing them. The freedom to face any situation without fear. The Stoics called this autarkia, absolute self-sufficiency. Not in the sense that you don't need food or shelter, but that your happiness, peace, and sense of self don't depend on anything external. You become psychologically invulnerable. Imagine never again being hurt by someone's opinion of you. Imagine never again feeling anxious about being alone. Imagine never again needing constant stimulation to feel okay. This isn't a fantasy. This is the natural result of consistent solitude practice. But here's the ultimate truth. This freedom isn't just for you. When you achieve psychological freedom, you become a beacon for others. Your presence alone shows them that another way is possible. You become living proof that humans can be more than anxious, reactive, validation-seeking machines. This is the warrior's path. Not the warrior who fights external enemies, but who conquers the only enemy that matters, the undisciplined mind. Every moment of solitude is a battle won. Every day of practice is territory gained. And eventually you win the war. The end goal isn't to live in permanent isolation. It's to be so comfortable with yourself that you can engage fully with the world without losing yourself in it. To be like Marcus Aurelius, fully engaged in the messiness of life while maintaining perfect inner stillness. You've made it to the end, which means you're not like the others. You have the attention span, the mental strength, and the hunger for truth that sets warriors apart from sheep. But knowledge without action is worthless. Here's what you do now. First, commit to the 10-minute morning protocol starting tomorrow. Not next week, not when you feel ready. Tomorrow. Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier and begin your journey to mental sovereignty. Second, subscribe to Stoic Mentality right now if you haven't already. This isn't just another YouTube channel. This is your brotherhood, your training ground, your daily reminder that you're not alone in this fight for mental freedom. We post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Each video builds on the last, creating a complete system for mental mastery. Third, share this video with one person who needs it. You know someone who's drowning in distraction, suffocating in social media, dying from lack of real connection with themselves. Be the friend who throws them a lifeline. Fourth, comment below with your commitment. Write, "I am a warrior of solitude," and the number of days you commit to practice. Public declaration creates accountability, and accountability creates transformation. Remember this, in a world designed to keep you distracted, solitude is rebellion. In the culture that profits from your anxiety, peace is revolution. In a society that feeds on your insecurity, self-sufficiency is the ultimate threat to the system. You are not just practicing solitude. You are reclaiming your mind from those who would colonize it. You are taking back your attention from those who would steal it. You are becoming dangerous to a system that depends on your weakness. The warrior's path is not for everyone. Most will choose the comfortable slavery of constant connection over the difficult freedom of solitude. But you're not most people. You're here at the end of this video, ready to begin the real work. Your training starts now. Your transformation begins in silence. Your freedom is waiting in the solitude you've been avoiding. Welcome to the resistance. Welcome to the warrior's path. Welcome to Stoic mentality. The battle for your mind begins in silence. Will you answer the call?